Hello and welcome to this latest IJ Global webinar. Today I have with me Jean-Francis Douche, Managing Director and Global Head of Infrastructure and Structured Finance Debt at Edmond de Rothschild Asset Management. For those of you not so well acquainted with Edmond de Rothschild Asset Management, they're best known in the infrastructure and energy lending space for their bridge platforms, which have 5 billion euros of assets under management, all of which is held to strict ESG guidelines. We're here to talk today about Edmond de Rothschild's success in the recently staged IJ Global ESG Awards 2022, where they won ESG Infrastructure Asset Manager in the debt category. Now, IJ Global Awards are selected by an independent panel of industry experts, and they were highly complimentary, with one saying that your sizable portfolio demonstrates impact with clear examples of how to implement an ESG strategy. Now, JF, you won the IJ ESG Award for your involvement primarily in two deals, Project Aries and Project Nature. Now, can you tell us a bit more about, well, let's start with Project Aries.
Well, perhaps first of all, Angus, thank you for the opportunity, and we were very proud to win that award. And reason we're proud actually is for us, ESG is a strong commitment from the Edmond Rothschild group, and we were probably an early mover when 5 years ago we launched one of the bridge fund with an energy transition label. And at the time, that was really to reflect on, yes, we can implement an ESG process. And for us, ESG process is from the moment you source investments and send a grid of criteria to the borrowers, to the way we can structure the asset, the way also we can measure the impact. We measure CO2 emission avoided. We measure the trajectory against the 2050 global warming reduction goals. But also the way we report to investors. And at that time, it is true, you would talk to a lot of investors that would say ESG is nice to have. Is it a must-have? We thought it might be when SFDR taxonomy would be in place. But again, we did it truly as an asset manager because we have conviction, because we anticipated a concrete regulatory need, but also to be in line with the conviction. And it is true that, so for us, that's why we're proud, because we thought actually we were really sincere, about our approach. We had a true desire to have an impact. And one comment was there's a sizable investment, focus on ESG in the way we invest. It is definitely true. The two deals you mentioned are also interesting because, ESG, energy transition, you can point at renewable energy as a natural way to invest, and we have invested a lot in it. And probably in 2014 we were one also of the first asset managers to really say we need to invest, we need a head of energy, we need to structure the deals that works for investors in this space. But we also thought that ESG was much broader. Yes, there's the environment, but there's also the S for social, job creation, impact on society. And this is why we really wanted to invest in assets that are, yes, part of ESG as part of protecting the environment, protecting the planet, but also have a social impact and across all sectors.
Yes.
Our approach was that, yes, renewable energy, tick, but digital infra is social impact. Utilities, you need to clean utilities. Transport, green mobility is important. Equally, social infrastructure with energy efficiencies. And this is why the two deals, if we start with the first one, now I'm finally beginning to answer the question.
That's all right. It was a good introduction.
Well, I'm French, so it takes time. Usually we're late. This time I'm taking my time. But but this one actually is a company called La Française de l'Énergie. So you could say the French company for energy. And we often said, as a group, and even our chairwoman, Ariane de Rothschild, who really supports that involvement and gave us, the mandate, which is great. When your chairwoman decides to give you the mandate to implement something, that's a blessing. And Française de l'Énergie was also important because what it is, that's basically a company that will, operate on closed mines in the north of France. So what is there? It's coal, and coal is an exclusion from our investment policy. But what we like in the story is actually what they do is these mines, you can extract the methane, which is a very dangerous gas if it goes in the atmosphere, and you can create renewable energy. You can also create heat, so create also a district heating service. And so it's really part of the energy transition as per the guidelines of the French authorities. It was very innovative the way they were doing it, but it was touching on something that is important to us. In energy transition, there's the word transition. And without being controversial, although I know you like people who are controversial,
Always.
always. Sometimes there's a bit of a, thinking. I'm French, I would call it me even a bit of arrogance in thinking, okay, this is what we do, this is the goal, and we focus on the finish line. What we try to do here is also to say there's that word transition. So transition is also transformation, and you need to help, some sites, some infrastructure to transition. And here, what we like is the fact that you start from these closed mines, and you create something that has a positive impact on environment. And that's we like. That's what we liked. From the moment we talked to these guys, we could see that conviction. And the CEO had a clear view on how to implement it. There was a lot of scientific, technical, industrial background. We liked also that there was a true conviction of what could be the positive impact from an environmental standpoint. And then we just tried to put together a financing structure that would finance actually this investment that you've seen. But equally, we had behind a kind of framework finance agreement where if the next projects fit certain environmental criteria, social impact criteria, of course, operational, financial milestones, we would then finance next phases. And that's what we done actually 3 weeks ago. We closed the second phase of the expansion of that company. And that is why we liked it, because it was also very entrepreneurial, somehow innovative. But again, we need to find a way to do it in a way that also is useful to society, that company is useful to society, but also do it in a way where we deliver on the mandate from our investors and help them support the energy transition, but with actually a very sound financing structure. And for us, we very much believe that finance has to support ESG. This is really a main goal, and you can make it profitable as well.
Yeah.
But this is, we are providing a financing solution to ensure the sustainability of these companies.
Yes. At Judging Day, the fact it was to do with coal did raise eyebrows, but as people read down, I was like, oh my goodness, this is really ticking a lot of boxes and made them very happy. So that was an excellent transaction and yes, impressed the judges a great deal. Your other one, as it's called Project Nature. Tell us more about that.
Well, same, I think what we try to do here is to think social infrastructure. We often talked in the past of energy efficiencies and the social impact. And I thought actually that's, kind of eco result. You need to finance all the infrastructure that supports finally the operation of this investment. And we thought that's also, again, that's our job to think actually this is an asset that supports, that has a strong social impact, that has in its definition really, very strong also environmental criteria in the definition of the resort. The way the infrastructure was built made also sense in terms of, again, how you can make social infrastructure efficient from an environmental standpoint. And we thought, well, that's the type of asset we want to bring, also to create diversification, to say, energy transition, ESG, applies to all the infrastructure universe.
Yes.
So that was, and that we tried again to put something together. I think the reason also the borrower decided to go with us, I mentioned you can still be profitable, generate yield in doing this, because that's also what investors expect from us as asset manager. And I think what we tried also to do is bring a financing solution with the borrower called smart, saying, what, actually, when we weigh out all the different proposals, this is actually a good way to ensure the long-term viability of the project. And yes, it might cost more on the debt side, but we can see the long-term benefit.
Yes.
So I think that transaction is also the luxury we have at EDR. We do, some transactions from very proprietary. We will really stick to a very traditional definition of infrastructure, but we also believe we can think a bit out of the box, not stretch the definition of infrastructure, but see within that universe where sometimes we can be a bit more relevant, a bit more innovative. And interestingly, what we realized later during that investment, when we undertook our due diligence, is that actually it's not that far from the RS site, and the heating of these assets is actually supplied.
No, that's
by,
amazing.
yeah, and that because we've known each other for quite some time. I always said infrastructure is about interconnectivity of infrastructure, and that's also what we like sometimes when we think actually you can build an asset which is not just a standalone asset. It can serve also another asset, which in this case has a strong ESG story.
Well, it's a bit of a double whammy on the ESG front, really.
It
Well
was a bit
done.
lucky as well. From a
Well, it all came
storytelling
together.
standpoint.
Yeah, but and ESG, it's a fundamental tenet, as a main primary pillar for Edmund Rothschild Asset Management in your investment strategy.
It is, and that's why I joined the group 18 years ago, because there was already that awareness of saying, we need to do something for the planet, we need to do something for society. We advise governments, sometimes we advise on PPP situation in emerging markets in Africa. And we like the fact that you could build an infrastructure and sometimes treat some health hazards by dealing with stagnant waters, which can create malaria or things like that. So we've always had that in mind, and it's true. For the asset management, we have a very strong ESG angle. We have really committed to move as much as possible our funds, whether for liquid markets or in this case private markets and infrastructure, to Article 8. But we've been honest about it. The SFDR guidelines came out, and we had worked on it for years, and anticipating it. And I remember we thought, we discussed, and that's discussed in the group at the highest level. And infrastructure would have been the perfect candidate for Article 9 funds. And we said, actually, we believe that where the market is, where the assets is, where the ESG story is, we can commit to Article 8. But 9 is not really achievable. And you can see and we accept it to be almost at the disadvantage, which hurt me because we are almost the first mover.
Yeah.
And we need not to use the top, I would say, of the classification. But I think in the last 2-3 months, the transparency, the honesty, because we went to investors and said, this is our analysis right now. So that's why we advise to stay Article 8, which is already strong. But I think a lot of Article 9 funds have been reclassified, sometimes to even lower than 8. So, I think this is also the thing. The group is very honest with our investors. We think our duty is to create a partnership, and it's based on transparency and honesty. And that's why also I think in our submission we commented on some deals we didn't do.
Yes, and that was really well received by the judges, and not many people did that in their submissions.
Yeah.
But we do ask for that in the criteria, but not many people actually read the question very closely. And being able to actually identify transactions where you've gone, no, no, that's not us, was a very powerful thing to have done. So well done for that as well.
Thank you.
Not that you're going to identify those transactions now, I imagine.
I don't know. You have to give it to sponsors sometimes, but no. But I think that's why this award meant a lot. Because of
Mm,
course this is your landmark publication. So when we win an award, that that means something. But it is really because there's a lot of history behind, and I can tell you, my boss, who's the global CEO of asset management, and our chairwoman Ariane de Rothschild, were really delighted because
that's
it
good
was
to hear.
really seen as a reward
Yes.
for
Well,
for all the work we've done.
Well, from our side, congratulations again.
Thank you.
That's our second year that we've been doing the IJ Global ESG Awards, and they're really building up quite a head of steam, and all independently judged by industry experts. So we're really rather pleased with ourselves as well, and congratulations to you. I think we should probably call it, round it off there, or risk making this too long. Jeff, thank you very much for your time, and congratulations once again on your award win.
Well, thank you
Congratulations.
again, and congratulations for a great evening. I wasn't there, but which is good. When I'm
Sadly.
not there, we win. But it was a great event.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank
Cheers.
you.